middle class may be wealthier than anyone thought. The nonprofit think tank Third Way released a report this week showing a rise in median income and living standards. The report also argues that some government policies are outdated and conform to the old rules for economic success. Christian Weller is senior economist for the Center for American Progress, and Adam Solomon is chairman of Stonewater Capital and Third Way trustee, co-author of the report. Adam, let's start with you. Your report found that the basis of the Democrats' populist mantra is wrong. The middle class is making more money than most estimates. They feel satisfied with their economic circumstances, and they aren't drowning in debt, as others say. How is what you found so different from what we hear every day from Democrats?
Well, let me explain. It starts with the statistics. Normally people talk about middle class income being $45,000, the median income. But it turns out if you look at the closely, if you get rid of the young under 25, get rid of the older individuals over 60, and you now look at the income, you find that it's in the 62,000 range. And if you focus on husband and wife households, which is what most people think of as being the middle class, what you find is that that's about $80,000.
Christian, what do you think? Is it fair to narrow your parameters like that?
Well, I think that's asking the wrong question. I think the overall picture is that the middle class should have done much better than it did in the last few years. And I think what has happened is that the middle class didn't share equitably in the economic gains of the last few years. We had the weakest employment growth since the Great Depression with flat wages. And at the same time, we've shifted more and more risks onto the middle class, which means now more families are left to their own devices. They don't have the resources to do that. Let me just finish this thought, because if you look at our data from the Survey of Consumer Finances, what you find is that holding numbers constants like this is actually in the typical middle class family earner families have fewer resources now than they did before.
Yeah, let's let Adam respond, because I don't know about that. It seems like real wages are growing faster than inflation. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, look, it's very simple. It's very important to understand what the real state of the middle class is. And when people talk about the middle class, when you design government programs for the middle class, you have to look at working couples. That is what people talk about.
Why?
Well, that's exactly what we did.
That's 75% of who households are. And that is who you need to look at, is middle class people. And so the question becomes, what do you want to accomplish? If you paint a picture that's much too distressed, that doesn't deal with the accuracy of what is going on, you're going to end up with the wrong government policies. So I completely agree with Christian that, there's been too much income inequality in this country, but that one has to address the real issues, and you start addressing the real issues by understanding where the middle class is today.
Well, and I think that's important, because I think if you look at the overall, what really burdens, I think, middle-class families is the shift of risk onto the middle-class families and the lack of support for middle-class families, both public and private support to deal with those. And I think if you look at the numbers, the wealth data, what shows really up is that
But I don't know, Christian, we're looking at the data, and it looks like the middle class isn't as bad off as the Democrats would have you believe. I mean, it seems like maybe the basis of your argument is not right.
Well, no, I think we got to be very clear here. One is an income measure, the other one is a wealth measure, and really incomes and savings have meant different things over time. And as we've shifted more risks onto the individuals, they need more support, they need more wealth, they need more savings, and that's really what's missing. And I think we have to be...
Christian, you can't just be negative about everything. Look, wages are up, total compensation is up. Wages in particular are not as much as they should be. That we agree with.
That's missing the point.
Net worth is up. If net worth is up 35%, if people are better off than they were 20 years ago, then even though it's not as good as it ought to be, it is certainly moving in the right direction.
Well,
but that's the measure that we want.
Let's talk about the solution, though, too, gentlemen. Christian, what do you think the solution is?
Well, I think the solutions are income support measures. We need a higher minimum wage. We need to make it easier for people to join a union, because I think that's a true middle-class policy. I think we need to make it easier for people to save money outside of their homes. We need to reduce the costs of debt, in particular the very onerous forms of debt, payday lending and credit card debt. And I think we need to build inefficiencies in the economy to reduce the rapid cost increases, particularly on the energy side and on the healthcare side. I think that's a three-pronged approach that will allow the middle class to ultimately share much better, much more equitably in the economic gains that we've seen.
All right, gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Well, tomorrow is Valentine's